Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to another episode of what makes this game awesome. After talking about a pretty popular game last time, today I'm doing a complete 180 and talking about an indie game released 2 years ago called Ascend. Sorry, it's called Ascend, but it's in caps, so you have to scream it. Now, this game never got finished. In fact, it never even made it out of alpha. So there isn't as much content to talk about, and today's video might end up being a little shorter. However, I wanted to talk about the concept of this game, which I find really interesting, and also the developer. So today I'm going to be talking about Ascend and what makes this game awesome. The best way I can describe Ascend's gameplay is a reverse roguelike dungeon crawler. It's not the only game to have attempted this kind of gameplay, but it's really interesting how it's turned out, and in my opinion the way that this game has implemented it is probably the best that I've seen. It's an indie game made by Call of the Void in 1 week for Pirate Jam, and how you make a game like this in 1 week completely blows my mind, but anyone interested in this game should go into the description, check out his website where he has this game alongside a bunch of others all available for free. It's definitely worth checking out, he's made some really great stuff. At the beginning of the game, you've already descended into a dungeon and acquired all of these amazing powers, and your goal is now to leave the dungeon. Your character is crazy overpowered, and you can melt through waves and waves of enemies with no trouble. You have 4 spells to use: Summon, Fire, Shield, and Petrify. Now, every floor you go up, you have to degrade an attribute of your character. These start off relatively small, making cooldowns longer or decreasing your movement speed, but as you ascend the dungeon and these debuffs begin to stack, your character becomes weaker and weaker. As you continue to ascend, you truly have to choose the character attributes you like the most. Would you prefer to have really strong attacks but no health, or be a bullet sponge but have no attacks and not be able to read? It's a tough choice, and it makes the game very challenging. No matter how good you are at the game, by the time you get to the last few floors, it gets hard, even though the enemies get weaker. Now, there are things that help in the game, like health restoration items that you can find or get in exchange for coins. These are found as rewards for killing enemies, and can also be bought with coins from these statues, and these can be a massive help. You can also get some bonus items that can affect your character's stats from these statues, such as fire attacks dealing more damage. And while these are useful, I didn't use them that much in my own run. As I mentioned earlier, at the end of each floor you have to choose a debuff for your character. You'll be presented with between 2 and 4 choices and have to weigh up your options and pick the one you think will be best. These will either be debuffs for the 4 magical abilities you have, or a passive debuff. These are the most interesting ones in the game for me, and include not being able to read, randomly peeing yourself, being stun locked as you scream and swear, having reverse controls, and a lot more. Hell, there's nothing stopping you from having all of them at once. This adds an interesting choice to the game, as you can choose to keep your human traits and become less powerful, or you can lose basic skills to keep your character really strong. Now, the game does actually come with controller support, so I tried it both with and without a controller, and I much prefer how the game controls on my PS4 controller than on my keyboard. It is worth mentioning that by default the game only supports Xbox controllers, but this can be easily fixed with a program like Input Mapper. Pressing the arrow keys to do directional attacks in the direction you're moving, and using WASD to move, feels quite unnatural to be honest, but the potential for this to evolve into a console game is definitely there. I wasn't able to complete the game using my keyboard, but with my PS4 controller I was, and having the extra directional control of a second joystick definitely helps. For a game made in a week, the inclusion of controller support really makes this game fun and surprisingly polished to play. Now, the graphical style of this game is pretty cool. It's pretty similar to the dungeon crawler, Crawl, on Steam, although less detailed, and I think the simple graphical style really suits the game, although maybe a slightly more detailed character and enemies couldn't hurt. The intro music is really good, it suits the atmosphere really well, although I do wish there was some background music in the stages, and variety is kind of lacking. However, for an alpha release made by one person in a week, I really can't give it crap for this. I think if they were going to continue this game though, they should add some different zones in the dungeon to mix up the visual aspect, and possibly add some varied background music to really reinforce the atmosphere that they're trying to create. So after hours of trying to figure out how the hell you're supposed to make it this far into the game, I did actually finally manage to make it to the final floor, floor number 1. I ended up resorting to holding onto my fire and summon abilities, and just summoning a bunch of enemies, and giving them and myself shields so we could take more hits. Through the last few levels, I was very paranoid, walking very slowly and shooting at everything, because I knew how hard it was to even get this far. Having a genuine tension like that in a game of this style is pretty cool, and I still can really respect that. I wasn't expecting any big ending to this game because I know it's in pre-alpha, and likely didn't have the time for anything else to be implemented with the care taken in the gameplay. So, when you finish floor 1, you escape to floor 0, greeted by the trees and grass of freedom, and right as the game fades to black, you can even see other humans. It's essentially how I'd expected this version of the game to end, and while it's not particularly satisfying, it was still a fitting and fun ending to the game. As of now, Ascend is free to download off Call of the Void's website, as well as a few other Pirate Jam games that he's made. If this game seemed like something you'd like, I'd recommend you go check it out. It's completely free, and all of his other games are also pretty cool. Now, I know today's video wasn't like a lot of my other videos, because normally I talk about a bit more popular games, and this was like as indie as you can possibly get. But if you guys liked this kind of video, then make sure to let me know in the comments below, and also if you have any games you'd recommend, also let me know in the comments below. If you guys like it, then I might start covering some very little known indie games as well. Now, this game isn't even close to a full release, and I'm not gonna kid myself and try and give it a rating because it's just straight up not finished. However, if you fancy a free-to-play game with a unique concept, pretty challenging gameplay, and a really cool atmosphere, this one's probably worth checking out, and it's free, so why not? Anyway guys, sorry today's video was so short, but I've got plenty more reviews on the way, so make sure to stay tuned for those. If you enjoyed, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to stay updated with the channel. And if you want to stay updated, also check out my social stuffs on screen now and in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, so see you there.